The New Edge, Beyond 911, Advanced Search and Rescue.
People think we're a little crazy, and maybe we are, but maybe that's what it takes to do this job.
Stop breathing level.
A new kind of MRI machine opens up to surgery.
This is really a special thing.
The new face of security is your face.
Access is denied.
And finally, this helicopter is a television station in the sky. These stories and more right here on The New Edge.
Hi, I'm Ryan Seacrest, and welcome to The New Edge from the studios of CNET, the computer network. Unfortunately, there are times when an emergency rescue cannot take place simply because the rescuers can't find the victim. Now, there are a few highly specialized emergency crews that are equipping themselves to respond when the walls come crashing down.
You never know when it will happen. Suddenly, it seems as if the earth has opened up to swallow you. The world comes crashing down. Is it a bomb, an earthquake, or a tornado? At this point, it doesn't really matter. The good news is you're alive. The bad news is you're trapped. The best news, help is on the way.
Okay, we got someone.
After the Loma Prieta earthquake hit San Francisco in 1989, FEMA formed a national network known as the Urban Search and Rescue Task Force. It includes 25 teams comprised of highly trained specialists, everything from physicians to structural engineers, with one singular purpose: to pull people out of collapsed buildings. Menlo Park, California's Task Force 3, is one of those teams.
Okay, safety's locked. Safety's locked!
Station up on station.
Not your average firefighters.
We have all the disciplines necessary to operate in the field independently for 72 hours at a time. So for 72 hours, we can come in, support ourselves, and run an entire operation.
This, believe it or not, is a classroom. And yeah, it is supposed to look like this. This pile of rubble was constructed to train rescue team members' extrication procedures for victims of collapsed buildings. The team will actually go into this pile of concrete to practice. If it looks dangerous, that's because it is.
Task Force 3 is not only highly trained, but equipped with state-of-the-art rescue equipment. The Quint, as it's called, is an incredibly agile ladder truck with all-wheel steering. It forms the base of operations at the rescue site.
We'll set up a forward command area, and then we'll set up a rear resupply and rehab and logistical support area. We're working against that clock because within the first 24 hours, we can rescue people 80% of the time they'll be alive. After that, within the second, third day, that number drops down to about 36%. So we have to be very good at what we do within the first 24 hours, 48 hours, and so we can't waste any time in those operations. And that search gear, if they don't set the tone, what will happen is we'll be in the wrong place and we'll have wasted time.
You're out there trying to find the people who still have a chance and they're alive, and the attitude on our team is if they're in there, we're going to get them. We're going to get them.
In order to maximize the efficiency of the team, electronic listening devices and specialized cameras are used to locate victims.
This is a search cam. When this is all hooked up, by pushing these buttons, you can articulate the head of this, right or left. It also has a light, and the light, the intensity of the light can be varied depending upon the conditions that you find in there. But if you look in and find that there is somebody who is breathing and they're trapped, or maybe they're unconscious, then the rescue squad guys have a chance of getting them out, and they're still alive. Hello? Can you hear me? Well, just hang on. We know where you're at. We'll get somebody to get you out of there just as soon as we can, okay?
To locate someone out of the range of the search cam, acoustic sensors are spread out in a pattern across the concrete. By comparing the timing of returns from each sensor, the team can triangulate the position of the victim.
So as you go through the dial here, this tells you that you're listening to all of the sensors, and that's what you get if you want to detect that there's somebody there. What you're looking for is the people that are buried deep or entombed. And the whole idea behind it is time, is to get to them as soon as you can.
Once the team has a better idea of where the survivors are, they can move into the building to bring them out. This laser heat detector can pinpoint a trapped person by registering their body temperature through the rubble.
We got a 61 reading. We found someone down in here. We've got a heat reading.
Okay, we got someone.
In the future, the task force is hoping to have another locating device based on the micropower impulse radar system being developed at the Lawrence Livermore National Lab. The unit emits a minuscule pulse of radar, and through a process known as range gating, can detect the slightest movement, even through solid objects. With an MIR unit, rescuers could actually find a person trapped beneath several feet of rubble simply by detecting their chest cavity movement as they breathe.
We spend hundreds and hundreds, thousands of hours training, practicing, being prepared, and that's really what makes the difference is when we find somebody alive.
Let's eliminate the possibilities of missing somebody. We have all these tools, and if they're available to you, let's use them.
People think we're a little crazy, and maybe we are, but maybe that's what it takes to do this job.
Here is something else that's new, rescue blankets made from recycled plastic milk bottles. They're the latest spin-off from NASA's research into the development of lightweight metal insulation for spacecraft, applying the same honeycomb design that will be used to make metal heat barriers. Scientists at NASA's Ames Research Center have created a lightweight plastic insulation for blankets that is warmer than wool and dries 5 times faster. Whew, it's hot in here.
Next up on The New Edge, someday this machine could save your life. And this camera could prove you are who you say you are. These stories and more on The New Edge.
Allowed.
Magnetic resonance images, better known as MRIs, have become as commonplace as medical x-rays. Now, there's a new kind of MRI. This one no longer coops you up in a long claustrophobic tunnel, and for the first time allows a surgeon to operate on you while you're inside. CNET's Richard Hart takes us to the Stanford Medical Center to show us how it has already begun to save lives.
If you've ever had an MRI, a magnetic resonance image taken, this scene should look familiar. But something radically different has been added. A doctor can now perform surgery on you during your MRI, inside the machine.
Unlike conventional magnetic resonance imagers that are a solid tube from one end to the other, this one has an aperture on both sides. This allows people access to the patient, which is a very unique feature.
The difference between this and regular MR is that it is a marriage of the OR and an MR environment.
MRI first entered medicine in the 1970s, slow, blurry, and confining. Early machines required liquid helium to cool huge magnets, the round part.
This is what many MR patients dread, being slid into a long, narrow tunnel, especially if you're claustrophobic.
That's no longer a concern because a limited number of clinics have begun to open up the machine in the middle. So you now can enter one of these without lying down. In fact, for the first time, images can be taken of moving body parts, even exercising. Stanford University Medical Center sometimes refers to it as MRT, for magnetic resonance therapy.
It's very exciting to me as a patient and very encouraging to know that I am getting the cutting-edge treatment, that the technology that's available to me.
Franny White is battling a tumor on her liver. Without this new technology, her situation would be practically hopeless. But using MRT, these doctors plan to make a surgical strike.
What we're planning to do is to treat this area of tissue right in the midline of the patient. In order to do that, we'll have to put a needle in from the patient's skin right at the very front of the patient and drop the needle down in real time into this lesion.
Before this tumor can be operated on, it has to be reduced in size. The goal is to shrink it by killing off portions of it with alcohol injections. However, this is a particularly tricky part of the body to be waving a needle. That's where the MRT comes in. Precision guidance.
They have a TV camera where they can look directly inside me while they're guiding a needle that has the alcohol that's aimed directly at the tumor. I usually tell people that I'm coming up to Stanford for a couple of drinks, and I'll be back the next day.
So what we're basically doing is surgery in a limited extent for sure, but surgery without necessarily opening the patient.
An additional advantage that we have with MR is that we're able to see different tissue types. So we're able to see the lesions and we're able to see the normal liver in a way that we're not able to see with either CT or ultrasound.
All of this is monitored inside the control room. But on the other side of the glass, the doctors performing the procedure are seeing it too, on overhead TV panels just above the patient.
So the screens that they're looking at are the same image that we're looking at right here. Oh. So for example, when we throw up that line on here that says, you know, here's the tip of your needle, they're able to say, oh, I see the same line.
This black line is the needle. They can tell how close it is to arteries and other critical organs. They can throw up guidelines, sort of a heads-up display like for landing an airplane.
The advantage of this is it lets Steve know how to position his needle better than he can just on the basis of looking at this image alone.
Small breath in, Francis. Slow it out. Stop breathing, love. Hold your breath. It allows us to position the needles using almost real-time imaging.
The images are almost as fast as a movie, 16 frames per second. The developer, GE Medical Systems, says it's only going to get better, and some new tools are right out of Star Trek.
The effect is I can move this device over the patient anywhere I like, and I can take a picture in the patient in whatever orientation my hand would prescribe. In a regular scanner, the patient would slide in, and then you would just take slices like so.
It isn't over for Franny. This is just the second of 4 treatments, but she and her husband are happy to be alive while all this change is occurring.
My father was diagnosed with liver cancer 9 years ago, and by the time they diagnosed him, it had progressed to the point where it was inoperable.
But even if they had diagnosed it in time?
Even if they had diagnosed it in time, at that time there was no treatment available. So this is really a special thing.
The first MRT was an experiment at Boston's Brigham and Women's Hospital. Since then, they popped up at Stanford, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and in South Africa. But they are still rare.
Hi, I'm Gina St. John. Coming up on CNET Central, we got everything you need to know about the digital world. The biggest news, the latest innovations, what you should buy, and what you should avoid. We're your source in the digital age. That's CNET Central, after the web and the new edge.
Each year, U.S. companies lose billions of dollars to theft, embezzlement, and fraud. To increase security, metal keys have evolved into magnetic keys. And now, the latest incarnation, face keys.
The spacing between the eyes, the mouth, the chin.
Using Sun workstations, the Miros Corporation's True Face Recognition System takes a picture of a person and then enrolls it in a database.
You are now enrolled.
Later, a camera, either on top of the computer or outside a building, records the image of the person trying to gain access. Now, depending on your system, the software can compare anywhere from 270 to 10 million faces per second.
I'm going to type in the ID I assigned to her, and we're going to go do a verification.
Because the system measures fixed facial characteristics, it's not fooled by changes in your daily appearance.
Your access is allowed.
Now that we have verified Betsy, I'm going to verify my colleague Paula Goglovac against Betsy as that ID. Okay, we're going to capture the face at this point.
Your access is denied.
The application was able to determine that the ID that was used for Paula does not match the face of Betsy.
Actually, Paula Goglovac is more than a test subject. She's Market Segment Manager for Sun Microsystems' Criminal Justice Department. She says the market for high-tech crime-fighting tools like this is growing every day.
In the criminal justice and public safety area, it's about a $6 billion market in the U.S.
Other entries into the field include Identification Technology International, with the slogan, "Your face is your PIN." Its one-on-one identity recognition system is similar to the one you just saw, but with this system, your facial data is stored on a credit card. Using a completely different approach, technology recognition systems' thermograms also photograph the face, but they record the heat emitted from the blood vessels underneath the skin, creating an image they say is totally unique, even among identical twins. From airport security to protecting your computer files, the key to safeguarding your valuables in the future may be something you literally can't leave home without.
In some states, such as California, identity theft is not yet considered a crime. There is legislation pending, however, that may soon protect the rights of consumers who've been ripped off by thieves who've stolen their identity. In some places where access to certain areas by only authorized personnel must be maintained, a security system based on palm reading is already in place. Here's Richard Hart with more.
This is one of the most popular new ways to recognize somebody without requiring anyone to carry an ID card. It's called the ID 3D hand key from Recognition Systems, and Bill Spence is here to show us how it works. But I have to ask you first, why not just carry a card? I've done that in the past. It's not that tough.
Cards are inconvenient. If you forget it, you can't get in. Okay. The other thing, of course, that's important, too, is who knows who's holding that card. Yeah. This device deals with who you are, not what you know like a PIN number or what you have on you like a card.
Okay, I just placed my palm down there. Now, I had earlier trained it, so I'm going to actually ask it to recognize. That was about high recognition. I got the green light there. Did it take my fingerprint? How does it do this?
It has absolutely nothing to do with fingerprints or palm prints, retinal scans, anything like that. It's the size and the shape of your hand.
And it works with mirrors. I see it's all done with mirrors here, so to speak. There's a camera in there and lights?
Yeah, essentially what we see is if you took a flashlight and shined it on your hand, that's what the hand reader sees. It does that with a set of lights right here, and that's shined up onto a mirror here down onto the surface where your hand is. And all that information comes back to a 32,000 pixel image array.
Camera. Now, you say this is a 9 kilobyte file on a computer.
9 bytes.
See, this is just too simple. I don't understand. What are some places it's being used that are unusual? I say you can buy a drink in the Ukraine with it?
You can buy a drink with the Ukraine. All you do is place your hand and you've got your drink. We were used in the 1996 Olympics to protect the athletes. Yeah. And we were used at health clubs and even at a sperm bank.
I won't go near that one. The ID 3D hand key. Thanks, Bill, very much.
Thank you.
Still to come on the New Edge, rock steady and crystal clear. Amazing new video from the air.
We've all seen breaking news from the vantage of a helicopter camera, high-speed chases, the LA riots. Well, we're going to take you aboard a chopper that has 5 cameras, 4 TV screens, a microwave hookup, and some of the most advanced technology on the planet for views of the news.
Yes, sir, that's Helicopter 10 Tango Victor. Master Control 581, are you hearing Air 10? We are next, is that what you're saying?
This big red machine is fully loaded and built for news. It comes complete with 4 onboard cameras the pilot can view on a quad-split monitor, plus a sophisticated satellite tracking system to bring in its live pictures.
It is the coolest and the most sophisticated helicopter for news gathering probably anywhere in the world.
Air 10 is Rob Marshall's new baby. He is the pilot reporter for KXTV in Sacramento, California. The station had this new A-Star 250BA custom built at Geneva Aviation in Everett, Washington. KXTV wanted a helicopter that would give it the competitive edge.
Right now, until the competition gets what we've got, we're basically going to win every time we go to cover a story.
KXTV got its first big chance when Unabomber suspect Theodore Kaczynski was extradited to Sacramento. Air 10 came through with the best pictures in town. Now, it may look like the photographer is standing on a balcony a few yards away, but he's really hundreds of feet up in the air.
Camera will be hot right out of the break.
The 360X gyrocam, mounted on the helicopter's nose, has revolutionized breaking news coverage. It can get a steady, clear picture from 1,000 feet away.
I can stay up higher, I can be more safe. And if there are a lot of other aircraft, I can even be higher or away because we still have the capability with the lens to really zoom in and get real tight on any subject that we need.
And the gyrocam completely changes the job of the photographer, too. He sits in the comfort of the back seat, using a high-tech panel to manipulate the camera.
It makes it more sterile, in my opinion, because I'm used to hanging out there on the strut with the camera on my shoulder and trying to hold it steady on something 1,000 feet away in many cases. And you have the wind buffeting you, shaking you. You have in the back of your mind, the fear of being out there on a little strap, and the only thing keeping you from falling is that harness that you have on.
Should be just west of Rio Linda Airport.
While Rob Marshall and Phil Desmangles were showing off their pride and joy, they got a breaking news call. An airplane crash near a local airport.
So I need to go just slightly northeast. Right.
They were at the scene and on TV within minutes.
It has been a fiery crash, but at this point we're understanding that there have been no injuries. We're just now getting to the scene. Sacramento approach is just now allowing us to come in, so you're seeing pictures just as soon as we're getting here.
The crew was able to get on the air quickly with the first pictures because Air 10's geostationary positioning satellite makes it a snap for the engineers to bring in the signal back at the station.
You punch in the receive site you want and then turn the microwave on, and it immediately links the two together and points the microwave to the site and then back to the TV station.
The GPS tracking system is housed in a pod on the belly of the helicopter. If it needs repairs, just take it off. Another custom feature.
Okay, are you seeing us?
And check out these bells and whistles. One camera always shows you the pilot's face. Another camera mounted in the back of the cabin gives you a real inside look. And a small camera mounted on the tail lets you see the helicopter in flight.
It gives the viewer the ability to see what's going on from different perspectives all the time.
While these small cameras are basically just showbiz, the star of this show is clearly the gyrocam. Check this out.
1,000 feet, we're reading Dry Creek Road. Now let's just get Phil to pull back out. We'll just show you really how far away we really are.
With a lens that powerful, you just never know when someone may be watching you, even if you think you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Stations in New York, Los Angeles, and Phoenix have similar helicopters on order. And it's probably a good bet that the other stations in Sacramento won't be far behind. For all of us here at CNET, the Computer Network, I'm Ryan Seacrest. We'll see you next time on The New Edge.
Hello, I'm Richard Hart. Up next on CNET Central, a ride in the ultimate wired dream car. We'll show you the future of how to stay connected. Plus, the hot trend in software by and for girls. All next on CNET Central.